This video is about horizontal and vertical integration. The goal of this video is to explain activities in a central city. A central city is the central area identified within a metropolitan area. As stated, the topic of this video is horizontal and vertical integration. Horizontal and vertical integration are business activities. The transitions happen when a company advances or reduces operations. Stakeholders use data to identify opportunities and threats to business operations. A profit margin is data stakeholders use to monitor or identify probability. A profit margin is a ratio of revenue compared to costs. Stakeholders of small, medium, and large businesses operate based on the margin. People can unintentionally undervalue or misinterpret the economic impact of a business. Services of small, medium, and large-sized businesses stabilize an economy. These companies serve local, regional, national, and international markets. Markets and industries are not the same. An example of a market is the labor market. The labor market's value is dependent upon the workforce. The workforce is a group of individuals. The individuals provide a specific good or service. The stock market is another example of a market. The stock market's value is contingent upon investment activities. The stock and labor markets function due to consumer demands. Consumer demands affect the rate of change in the stock market's activity. Consumers' demand also affect the labor market. A rise in demand could cause an increase in goods and services businesses provide. The stock market and cryptocurrency market are entities in the financial market. The financial market is a collective of institutions and services. Another example of a market is the real estate market. Volatility of the real estate market is dependent upon the domestic economy. Domestic economy is a broad term associated with activities within the United States. An economy is local, regional, national, or international activities. An economy is a platform for fair trade value of goods and services. Funds traded for goods or services can affect the economy. An example of a resource traded for a good or service is commerce. Local commerce is funds gained for a good or service provided in a local economy. Plains Dairy is a regional corporation headquartered in Amarillo, Texas. Plains products produced and sold in Greater Amarillo, Texas generate local commerce. 10% of the contingent states of the nation purchase Plains Dairy products. The sales factor into the local and interstate commerce gained by the corporation. Local and interstate commerce are main sources of revenue for the company. Plains Dairy could sell produce internationally and earn international commerce. Market and economic activities factor into the corporation's profit margin. The terms profit margin and capital are relative in this discussion. The profit margin is ratio. The ratio represents costs and revenue associated with the purchase of goods or services. Plains Dairy gains more money than the amount spent to produce the product, then the entity gains finances. A specific type of profit is net income. Consider the idea of the net profit being $10 and the total revenue being $100. The net profit to revenue ratio is 10%. The average profit margin of a company in the United States is less than 10% and more than 5%. People calculate various profit margins. The example in this video is net profit margin. Stakeholders can use various funding sources. Debt and equity are fund sources. Income earned during the lifetime of a company is another funding source. The need to use capital or revenue is dependent upon the cost of a good or service. Revenue is a source to fund labor, maintenance, and material costs. Capital can fund expensive projects, purchase equipment, and business upgrades. Capital is a source for an investment. Revenue is a source for business operations. Profit margin is an indication of the company's ability to earn funds. A profitable company can develop through the profitability. Profit margin is an implication of profitability. The topic is events involving the wholesale distributor Affiliated Foods. Plains Dairy was purchased by Affiliated Foods in 1996. The acquisition was an example of a capital investment. Affiliated Foods invested capital to acquire the company. The acquisition was an example of horizontal integration. Horizontal acquisitions can cause business activities, progression, or regression. An example of progression is an acquisition. A company can acquire an entity within the same or similar industry. Affiliated Foods is a wholesale distributor in the Plains region of the United States. Affiliated is also the 6th largest employer in the Panhandle region. Affiliated Foods can control, distribute, and retail Plains Dairy products. The acquisition also benefited Plains Dairy brand. Plains Dairy products were sold in markets served by Affiliated Foods. The trade-offs helped Plains Dairy marketability. Affiliated Foods inventory also became more diverse. Another example of horizontal integration is reverse integration. A acquiring a company is forward integration. Being acquired by a company is an example of reverse integration. An example of reverse integration was the acquisition of Affiliated Foods. Affiliated Foods was acquired by Associated Wholesale Grocers, AWG. A benefit of the acquisition was AWG can place more products in commercial and retail stores. Affiliated Foods benefited because the entity can expand within the food industry. Affiliated could provide more goods and services in more commercial and retail stores. A restaurant is an example of a commercial food establishment. A grocery store is an example of a retail food establishment. Affiliated Foods serves commercial and retail establishments. An example of a primary group of stores were the stores under the Albertsons brand. United Supermarkets, Kroger's, and Lion Foods are examples of stores under Albertsons brand. The establishments are primarily located in the South Central region of the United States. Albertsons territory is primarily in the Plains region of the United States. In context to AWG, Affiliated Foods can access more vendors due to the acquisition. AWG provides Affiliated access to more than Albertsons owned grocers. AWG distributes items to customers within 33 of the 50 states. Affiliated Foods primarily sells in the South Central region of the United States. Affiliated also delivers items to convenient, discount, and neighborhood stores. Due to the acquisition, Affiliated can serve independent grocers and food markets serviced by AWG. Horizontal integration was also beneficial to Plains Dairy. Plains Dairy could leverage success in the food industry through success of ventures and service agreements. Affiliated provided logistics and helped Plains Dairy manage supplies. The entity Lone Star Dairy Group helped Plains Dairy integrate vertically. Lone Star Dairy Group sells dairy for Plains Dairy to process. Lone Star Dairy Group is a cooperative and consists of 125 farms. Plains Dairy primarily purchases products from the Texas Panhandle farms. Plains Dairy previously purchased milk from vendors located regionally. Former vendors resided in Plains Dairy Interstate Territorial Area. The merger was beneficial to Plains Dairy in context of quality assurance and quality control. The Lone Star and Plains Dairy merger also benefited the Panhandle economy. Lone Star Dairy Group prioritized customer satisfaction and economic development. An example of upward vertical integration is the Lone Star Plains Dairy merger. Lone Star integrated upward because the entity provided the terms of agreement. Plains Dairy integrated downward, meaning it was the beneficiary of the services. In other words, Plains Dairy outsourced services to Lone Star Dairy.